The Rescue of the Mermaid. It was a normal day in my life. It was summer and very hot. My best friend Lizzie and I planned to go to the beach. We were on vacation, the weather was perfect, and we both loved the sea. We were going to spend 5 days at the beach, sleeping in late, enjoying the sunset, swimming a little, eating delicious food. We had the best plan, but we had no idea what awaited us. We packed our bags, made the hotel reservation, and ate a ham pizza before leaving. We were very excited. Our plan for the best vacation was starting. When we arrived at the hotel, we enjoyed the beautiful view. The sea looked so calm. The sky was very blue. There were no clouds, and there weren't many people. That was why we chose those days for our vacation. We knew the beach would be a bit empty, and we were right. My friend Lizzie was eager to swim, but I was hungry. We decided to have lunch to enjoy the rest of the day on the sand and in the sea. After eating, we waited 2 hours while we talked. Finally, it was time to swim. We put on our new swimsuits and ran on the sand. We played a bit and got into the sea. The sea was still calm, and there were only 3 other people swimming. Suddenly, I heard a woman singing. It sounded sad and melodious. It sounded far away, so I did not pay much attention. We kept playing in the sea with Lizzie, and again I heard that sad singing. Lizzie looked at me confused. She also heard the woman singing. The woman stopped, and we got out of the water. We hadn't realized it was already very late, so we returned to the hotel. That night, I couldn't sleep. For some reason, I could hear the waves very loudly and couldn't stop thinking about that woman singing. There had been no one else in the water when it was late. Who could it be? The next day, Lizzie and I went for breakfast. That day, the beach was empty. There was no one else on the sand or swimming, so we decided to take advantage and swim. The water was delicious, the weather was perfect, and the atmosphere was very quiet. I forgot all my problems and worries while floating in the water. However, the sea started to move more and more. It seemed furious with us. Lizzie and I looked at each other scared. We tried to swim to the shore, but it was impossible. An invisible force pulled us towards the sea until it submerged us. Again, I heard that woman singing, sounding sadder than ever. The sea kept pulling us under, and we couldn't do anything until we saw a woman, a young woman with long green hair, shell clips in her hair, white skin, and a long fishtail. She was a mermaid. The mermaid was at the bottom, trapped in a fishing net. Her face looked sad and tired. Maybe she had been struggling to free herself for hours. Maybe her song was to call other mermaids, but they must be too far away to hear her. Surprisingly, Lizzie and I realized we could breathe underwater, so we swam towards the mermaid. When the mermaid saw us, she tried to move, scared, but couldn't. She sang louder, looking desperate. It was moving. Lizzie and I tried to communicate with the mermaid, but she didn't understand us. We understood that mermaids don't speak our language. Lizzie and I decided we had to free her. Underwater, everything is heavier. It was a very difficult task. After many attempts, we managed to free the mermaid. When the beautiful mermaid saw she was free, she smiled like an angel. Lizzie and I were very excited. We didn't even know mermaids existed. The mermaid swam happily, showing off the beautiful and mystical creature she was. The mermaid approached us, looked at us with a shine of gratitude in her green eyes, and placed her hands on our faces. everything went dark. Lizzie and I woke up at the same time. We were on the sand. The lifeguard had rescued us. He told us he saw our bodies floating in the sea and immediately pulled us out. He thought we were dead. Lizzie and I were very confused. We thanked the lifeguard for his help and looked at each other. Can two people have the same dream? Was it just a dream? It was too real a dream, and we both lived it. Lizzie realized she had something in her hand. Lizzie had a clip just like the one that mermaid in our dream had, and I had another one just like it in my hair. We looked at each other, surprised. It wasn't a dream, it was real. We saw a real mermaid saved her life, and she thanked us by giving us a beautiful shell clip. We ran to the hotel and jumped with excitement. We had an incredible experience. Unfortunately, we couldn't take pictures or videos. The only proof it was real were our shell clips. However, no one believed us. Lizzie and I told this incredible experience to our friends and our parents. No one believed our story. We decided it didn't matter. Lizzie and I had planned the best vacation and we achieved it. We had a unique life experience that surely would never happen again. But we had a beautiful gift that would always remind us of the most wonderful vacation of our lives. The fantasy book. It was a relaxed and quiet day. I was resting in the tranquility of my home, lying on my favorite armchair. I was reading the newspaper while sipping a cup of hot chocolate. It was a perfect day, but suddenly, something caught my attention. In my living room, I had a shelf with 7 books. Fantasy storybooks that my father used to read to me when I was a child. When I moved to my new home 40 years ago, the first thing I did was place my 7 books on that shelf. However, that shelf now had only 6 books. One was missing. I got up from my armchair with effort and walked slowly towards the shelf. Indeed, there were only 6 books. For a moment, I thought my old and tired eyes were failing me. The missing book was my favorite as a child. Believe, Laugh, and Live was the title of that book. That book was about the incredible imagination of a child who could imagine anything, and in his world, everything became real. When I first heard that story, I was 6 years old. Before sleeping, I would imagine different scenarios, and while dreaming, they would become real. I imagined flying like a bird high in the sky, and in my dreams, I could fly. I imagined being very fast, and in my dreams, I could run quickly. For years, that was my nightly routine before going to bed. I never told anyone. I simply enjoyed imagining something before sleeping, knowing that in my dreams it would become real. That book taught me to believe in myself, to enjoy life, to imagine, and to be positive. With that book, I learned to be perseverant, and for that reason, it has been with me all my life, until this afternoon. I searched the entire living room, but it was nowhere to be found. I live alone, so I couldn't understand what was happening. I felt really sad. My favorite book was gone, and now I only had the happiest memories of my childhood. At my age, life is all about memories. Happy memories, sad memories, funny memories. It's just me and my memories. I decided to go to bed early that day. I wasn't feeling well. A noise woke me up in the middle of the night. Everything was dark and silent. I heard little footsteps outside my room. I was sure it wasn't a thief. They sounded like a child's footsteps. I slowly left my room with a flashlight and heard a child running towards the bathroom. I walked with the light from my flashlight and saw him, an innocent little boy playing in the sink with a toy car. It was either a ghost or my imagination, but I wasn't scared. The boy turned, looked me in the eyes, and smiled. Seconds later, he disappeared right before my eyes. I decided to ignore that experience, but it happened again the next 3 nights. The same boy running, playing in the bathroom. That boy wanted to tell me something, but he always disappeared before he could speak. I didn't understand what was happening, but I made a decision. That night, I slept in my favorite armchair, hoping to see the same boy as always. When I was already asleep, I woke up to a noise. I heard a book fall. When I turned on my flashlight, I saw the boy holding the book and smiling at me. It was the missing book. The boy had it. I slowly approached the boy, and suddenly, everything went dark. I only heard the tender laugh of a happy child. When I woke up, I was in my room with the book in my hands. I opened the book, and it had a page marked. The text on that page said, "Try to remember when you were a child. Remember when dreaming was everything to you, when life was simple. Believe, laugh, live. Dream again with innocence. Close your eyes and travel in the world of your imagination." Maybe it was just my imagination, or maybe I just dreamed it, but from that day on, I regained my smile, my excitement. I regained my desire to dream and fly. The boy and his friend, the star. Do you know the story of the boy and his friend, the star? There was a little boy named Sid, shy, innocent, and quiet. He was only 7 years old. He lived alone with his mother and had no friends. Sid was a poor child. His mother worked all day, so Sid had to stay alone at home and behave well. Fortunately, Sid was a very intelligent boy and understood that his mother couldn't be by his side to take care of him, so he had to be a good boy to keep his mother at ease. Sid spent his days playing with stones, mud, and ants. He only had a teddy bear that his mom gave him when he was a baby. His mother left prepared meals, and Sid heated them in the microwave that his grandmother had given them. The children in the village avoided Sid. No one wanted to be near the dirty and strange boy who played with mud. This was sad for a little boy like Sid to understand. One day, Sid was playing in his backyard, watching the ants march like soldiers and counting them one by one. Suddenly, a soccer ball flew over Sid's yard and landed on the poor ants. The kids from the neighborhood were playing soccer in the street, and their ball accidentally fell into Sid's yard. The kids shouted at the weird boy to get his attention and asked him to return their ball. Sid was scared, but he was also sad that the ball had landed on the poor ants and ruined their march. He looked through a hole in the yard gate at the kids from the village shouting at him. Sid was upset about his ants. Those kids were unpleasant. He decided to ignore them and went back into his house. It was the right thing to do for his little injured ants. When his mom came home that night, Sid told her what had happened. She advised him to return the ball and try to make friends. Sid didn't feel confident. He never talked to other kids and was scared, but he decided to do what his mother told him. The next afternoon, Sid went out of his house with the ball in his hands. He looked for the kids, and when he found them, he returned the ball with a smile, not knowing what to say. One of the kids threw the ball away and pushed Sid, saying, "No one wants a ball that the weird, dirty kid in the village has touched." The kids walked away, laughing at Sid. With tears in his eyes, Sid ran back to his house. He felt alone, rejected. It wasn't his fault he wasn't like the other kids, with expensive toys, new clothes, and gardens full of flowers. Sid just wanted to be their friend. That same day, in the evening, Sid sat in his yard waiting for his mom. Time passed, and his mother didn't return. Sid began to get scared. He walked around the yard, trying to play with the stones to distract himself, but his mother still didn't come back. Sid looked at the sky. It was a beautiful starry night, but there was one star in particular, the biggest star, shining like no other. Sid smiled when he saw the bright star. Suddenly, the star moved. It seemed like the star wanted Sid to follow it. Sid was a smart boy and understood the message, so he followed the star. The star guided Sid to a remote corner of the village. His mother was sitting there, not looking well. She was surprised to see her little Sid there, but she had no strength left. She managed to tell Sid to get help. Sid ran and knocked on a neighbor's door and told them what was happening. His mother was sick from exhaustion and weak from eating too little. Fortunately, Sid and his new friend, the star, found his mom in time. When Sid's mother came home, she asked her little son how he knew she was there. Sid told her that his friend, the star, had guided him. Sid's mother just smiled and hugged her little son. Every night, Sid looked at the sky, and there was always his friend, the brightest star of all. Sid told her stories, jokes, talked with her while he waited for his mother to come back from work. One of the kids from the village heard Sid talking to the star and told his friends. The village kids laughed at Sid, saying that now Sid had gone crazy. For Sid, this no longer mattered. He had a great friend. One night, Sid was talking to his friend, the star. At one point, the star moved again. Sid already knew what it meant. He had to follow her. The star guided Sid far from the village. Sid walked into a forest. As he walked, he heard someone crying. The star illuminated the path, and Sid saw a deep hole in the forest. There was one of the kids from the village. "What are you doing there?" Sid asked him. The boy looked at him, surprised and scared, and replied, "I saw a raccoon and wanted to see where it lived, so I followed it running. I didn't realize how far I was, and I fell into this hole. Many hours have passed. I've been shouting and no one heard me. How did you find me?" Sid, smiling proudly, replied, "My friend the star guided me here." From that day on, Sid was known in the village as the Star Boy. He had a special and unique gift. It was a surprise for everyone. Sid saw the biggest and brightest star every night. He tried to show it to his mother and others, but no one else could see it. Sid, with his pure heart, innocence, and kindness, was the only one who could communicate with the most incredible star of all. It could only be the boy and his friend, the star.